From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We're joined, as always, with our super producer, Dylan, the Tennessee pal Fagan. Most importantly, you are you. You are here. That makes this the stuff they don't want you to know. If you are tuning in to our listener mail program, the evening it publishes, folks, fellow conspiracy realists, friends, and neighbors, welcome to Thursday, August 7th, 2025. Let's hear some rutabagas.
School is back, but that doesn't mean the pool is closed just yet. There's still time to dig up the rutabagas at Stuff They Don't Want You to Float, podcasting's biggest water park. Come ride the lazy river, experience the thrills of our wackiest water slides. This weekend, buy one rutabaga, get one free. Come on down because digging up the rutabagas is mandatory at Stuff They Don't Want You to Float.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow. 90% P. 90% P and rutabagas. That's
yes.
Oh my God, Dylan.
Yes. Thank you. As always,
national treasure.
This is such a weird time when the pools are still open, but school is back.
Right.
It's strange. It's very strange because I keep thinking on the weekends, like, oh, we got to go to the pool. Well, obviously, what else are we going to do?
We've also had a run of crap weather here in Atlanta. The last very anti-pool weather. I haven't been in a single pool this whole summer's time.
You got to be the pool you wish to see in the world.
True. It's true.
Yeah.
Which probably makes better sense in a different language. Folks, it is well into birthday season for us, and we are so happy to be celebrating it by continuing listener mail when we get to hear from the best part of the show, you and your fellow conspiracy realist. We're going to have a fantastic story. I'm really excited about this one, guys, about space pancakes. No spoilers just yet. We might hear some fast food recommendations round up there because we had so many of our fellow listeners write in about that. A lot of people contacting us about nursing, super smell abilities, alien Earth observation. Before we get into the real rutabagas there, we're going to pause for a word from our sponsors, and we're going to return to a subject that fascinates us so much that it's actually, spoiler, going to be an episode of Ridiculous History as well.
And we have returned, and let's just get right to these particular rutabagas. We've got a letter coming from the United Kingdom. Evening from the UK, that's United Kingdom. Apologies if you've already covered this. We haven't, but it's a subject near and dear to all of us. However, I just listened to an episode of The Guardian's Today in Focus podcast, which interviewed Caroline Fraser. I hadn't heard of her before, but she's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who has a very interesting theory about lead, as in PB on the periodic table, and male violence. She's just published a book called Murderland, which explores how lead poisoning may be behind the volume of serial killers in the 1970s and 80s in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. Very simply put, many serial killers, such as Ted Bundy, lived in areas where there was a high level of industrial lead waste. Crucially, they lived in these areas as children. It's thought this exposure may have affected their brain development and contributed to the sheer number of serial killers during this period. There's an interesting Times article interview here if you want to learn more. Keep up the entertaining. Kay. My goodness, Kay. I think this really, checked a box for all three of us, as we've, obviously in this podcast alone, we talk about these sorts of true crime, serial killer stories often, but we've all independently and as a group worked on various true crime stories, many of which are based in the Pacific Northwest. Worked on a show called The Happy Face, as did Ben, which was about a notorious serial killer from Washington State. And then some of the biggest names in serial killing, if that's a thing, have hailed from this region.
And Zodiac
in San
Francisco, north of that area,
Bay Area,
and murder in Oregon as well.
A murder in Oregon as well. A lot of the hits, and it is absolutely an interesting point that I hadn't considered in this respect, but we had definitely considered on this show and on Ridiculous History in terms of this notion. A recent study, I think, as well, about how lead content perhaps increased the decline of Roman civilization, or at least their influence on the rest of the world, because of all of the lead that they were consuming, the lead that they were being, contaminated by, and this idea of cognitive decline, of an entire civilization over time. So this absolutely tracks in so many ways. And you're absolutely right, Kay. The article, Why Do So Many Serial Killers Come from the Pacific Northwest? A new book offers a theory by Rosemary Counter in Time is a really great read. And I will read a couple of quotes from the interview with the author, Caroline Fraser. She was just 7 years old and lived only miles away during Ted Bundy's 1974 killing spree. And she had this to say. The question here coming from the reporter: the Zodiac Killer, John Wayne Gacy, Gary Ridgway, Jeffrey Dahmer, Son of Sam, Richard Ramirez. Did it feel like suddenly serial killers were everywhere? Caroline says, certainly. By the time of Ramirez in the mid-'80s, people were thinking, what the hell is going on here? It makes me think of that expression people throw around. There must have been something in the water. Well, it's striking to me now that nobody was asking why. Nobody was looking at the larger pattern and asking, are there more killers than before? Is there something about the Pacific Northwest? The FBI was presenting themselves as the experts, but they weren't explaining anything about the phenomenon. Serial killers have always been with us in some fashion, but certainly not in these numbers. And then she goes on to get asked about this lead crime hypothesis, which posits, according to the reporter, a direct correlation between crime and lead, or as you put it, speaking to Caroline, more lead, more murder. What's the connection? They ask. Caroline says this, and then we'll just send it to the group because I think we're all itching to talk about this. During the post-war period, an enormous amount of lead was in the air from mainly two sources: leaded gas, which everybody used for decades, and heavy industry like smelting. People are still debating the numbers, but it is pretty well accepted now that between 20 and 50% of the sharp rise in crime in the 1980s and 90s is attributed to lead. We know lead causes aggression. We know lead damages the brain in developing children. I don't think anybody thinks lead isn't at least a factor anymore, as there's a clear association between the withdrawal of leaded gas in the 90s and the drop-off of crime. In the 50s and 60s, geochemist Claire Patterson proved that lead exposure had caused what he called a loss of mental acuity, but the effects of lead are all over the map. Besides intelligence, it can affect personality. Many studies connect lead exposure to a particular kind of frontal cortex damage that leads to heightened aggression. This is observed largely in males. The higher the lead exposure, the greater the brain volume mass, and reduced brain volume has been linked to higher levels of psychopathy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And last thing, specifically in the Pacific Northwest, there were some particularly nasty sites, smelting sites, and the way they disposed of their waste was also particularly nasty.
Well, it's interesting that it was smokestacks often, where you've just got 25 pounds of lead dust and 581 pounds of arsenic, essentially dust, just pumping into the air every hour in one place. And that's just one of the places that's smelting. And you just imagine the whole area being covered in that stuff that gets on everything.
Yeah, they specifically talk about a Sarco in Tacoma, Washington, which regularly released these clouds of lead and arsenic that became white ash, killed pets, eroded paint off of cars, and the air literally became so poisoned that it was the color of lead. And they referred to it as the aroma of Tacoma.
Ooh.
I like a rhyme. What is a Sarco, Noel?
It's a smelting operation.
Okay. This also reminds us of one of the most infamous inventors in history. One of the worst cases of an accidental bad guy, Thomas Midgley Jr. He's the guy who invented essentially invented, popularized leaded gasoline.
Right.
The lead crime MK, please read up on Midgley if you are having an afternoon that feels too pleasant.
Recent episode on him on Ridiculous History as well, or we lumped him in with inventors killed by their inventors who did stuff by accident that sucked, basically, right?
Yeah, inventors killed by their own inventions. That guy was a real accidental bad dude. The lead crime hypothesis, and I'm glad you're bringing this up, Noel, is a great case study in how scientific thought can evolve. Because originally it was treated as sort of an esoteric wingnut thing, but we can trace now, we can correlate geographic areas roughly to lead exposure. And to be absolutely clear, there is no such thing as an acceptable level of lead exposure. This is, as Orwell would say, double plus ungood. Any amount, no matter how minuscule, can have some degree of those neurological effects that Noel's talking about there, Kay.
Truly. Matt, how'd this hit you? I mean, I know that you worked on Zodiac. It had to have kind of dinged a little bell for you when you saw this.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting because there's also this connection that's been made over and over again with time in the military, and when people get out of the military after a certain amount of time and then having some of these same traits, but that doesn't mean they become a serial killer. It's more linked to the behavioral control mechanisms and how they can get impulse control, how that can get altered just with exposure to specific circumstances that you find yourself in, or to chemicals and stuff you're exposed to. And I don't know. I want to go down a rabbit hole on this.
This is why we think this is an episode in the future. There's a real difficult challenge in measuring the effect of lead exposure on rates of crime. Like, how to square those stats, we have to also be able to separate other things like nutrition, medical care, the natural environment, the state of the schools. It's tough, but it does appear now in 2025 that most experts agree there's something to it. There's some sand. Stay away from lead if you can.
For sure. And the last little exchange in this timepiece, the journalist points out that America's serial killer database counted 669 serial killers in the 90s, 371 in the 2000s, and 117 in the 2010s. Where do you think they're all going? Fraser points out more awareness around traumatic brain injuries and cognition, degradation of cognition, and increased aggression, largely because of American football, which we've talked about here on the podcast as well, but also toxic chemicals being phased out, of course, many of them, like lead specifically, which likely contributed at the very least to a decline in crime rates. She refers to it as the largest plunge in recorded history. She says, I don't think serial killers are going anywhere as much as we didn't grow them to begin with.
Man, there's stuff in here about cadmium being a possible, issue. It was somebody who's working as a welder what's his name? James Oliver Huberty, Huberty. Shot 22 people dead in a McDonald's in California in 1984. He was riddled with cadmium from his work as a welder. This is from The Guardian, talking specifically about Murderland, the book. It's like a book review. But just saying there's, potentially a lot of other metals that could be a potential issue when it comes to exposure in the brain.
Well, we certainly know the whole mad as a hatter trope that was a direct result of hat makers, haberdashers, working with felt for hats that were treated with mercury and caused even people wearing them. So that'd be an interesting stat to look into as well. We know that these things can have a direct impact on people's cognition.
Yeah. And Kay, I'd also like to add here, it's going to be interesting to look at the possibility of intergenerational effects. The idea being, is it possible that lead exposure in a parent couple can create some sort of damaging effect in the child, right? How deep does this go? There's also, again, with serial killers or serial murderers, there's always the question of whether the numbers are increasing or whether investigative abilities are increasing. Are there more skeletons in the closet, or do we have better flashlights? So that's something that also needs to be considered. But it's very much a fascinating conversation. So much so that Matt, I went ahead and I'm ordering a copy of Murderland right now.
It seems like a fascinating deep dive, and apparently the most comprehensive look into this particular set of factors.
Just a little light reading.
Why not?
Why?
I'll check out the audiobook. Well, thanks, Kay. And we're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then return to you with more messages from you.
And we've returned, guys. We've got 3 messages. We're going to jump straight in. This message comes to us from Eazy-E. It is based on our episode about the smell of death. Here we go.
Hey, guys. It's Eazy-E, and I'm a nurse. So many nurses have a very keen sense of smell for obvious reasons. A lot of nurses will say they can smell C. diff, which is an infection of the intestine near poo-poo. We can smell if you're in diabetic ketoacidosis. We can smell if you drink so much booze it's coming out in your urine. I've smelled death on a hospital bed days after a patient died on it. I can differentiate bad breath in both patients and anyone else, whether, hey, just take a sip of water, swish that around a little bit, or have you not brushed your teeth in several days, or I can tell between if you've had anesthesia by your breath or if you've smoked for a million years. Of course, that one is easy. I can tell if a patient just like let out a little toot, a little fart, or if they actually have some poo-poo down there that I need to assist them with. Sorry, this is getting gross. I can smell a trickle of pee if your catheter is leaking. Is this a talent? Is it because of practice and exposure? Maybe a little bit of both. I have always had a keen sense of smell before I was a nurse. Either way, it's not making me rich, and it's just made me realize who in the grocery store might need a change of their underpants. So anyway, thanks for talking about the smell of death. Some of us smell it more than others. Thanks. Bye.
Wow. It's
a
definitely
woman
a talent.
After your own heart, Matt, with the poo-poo talk.
That's just
she said it the way you say it, man. A little poo-poo.
Yeah. I think it is definitely a talent. And I want to know from everybody else, do you guys have any nurses in your life that maybe had a keen sense of smell before going into the practice? Did anybody else out there? Are those two things linked? Do we know? What about, do you guys have any nurses in your lives? I had a few friends who worked in ERs, but they weren't necessarily nurses, but I know one in particular had a ridiculous sense of smell, as in it's very good. So I just wonder if that is a thing that is linked, maybe even subconsciously.
Are you asking me like personally if I know any nurses?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I know a few. I actually contacted some while we were researching smell of death, and it's an interesting question to pose. You know, are you more likely to be talented in that profession because of certain attributes, or do you acclimate to them? You could make the argument that you're more exposed to certain smells than the average person, such that you need to know that and your brain needs to learn that. I think that's a definite possibility. I also got to say, thank you to everybody working in nursing. Thank you to everybody working in medical fields, because nurses are tremendously underpaid for all the work they have to do.
Absolutely. Well, so I guess Eazy-E, that's awesome to know. Glad you can sense all of those things, and also sorry that you have to have that power, I guess. But also congratulations. We're going to switch gears completely and jump to a message from Flea, who we've heard from on this show before. He had an interesting concept. Just want to see what we all think about it. Here we go.
Hey guys, this is Flea from the Northwest again. Just have a thought. Okay, you guys were just talking about that the UFO sighting thing in Canada or whatever that could be a projection on some clouds and stuff. And it made me think, like, if there was a big like mothership or another like alien civilization, right, and they were looking at us from, you know, Alpha Centauri or whatever, what if they're looking at like, oh man, check out that planet with all these crazy ass dinosaurs on it, because they're so far away and they're like looking back in time. And then they zap to get here, and they're like, oh, there's like a bunch of trash around this planet and a bunch of lights now. Like, what is this? And then they like zoom in even further, and they're like, yo, what are all these lights and these things moving around, these little tiny humans that are like destroying everything? We need to look into this. Oh, snap, they have big bombs that explode stuff and they're violent. Okay, we need to bounce out of here. Like, just a funny thought I had. If you're like looking at a planet from super far away, would you technically be looking back in time and you like think you're going to arrive to some dinosaurs and you don't even know that there's like a big ass cataclysm in between the time that you are getting to that planet? Just a thought. Anyways, love what you guys do. Have a good one. Bye.
Oh, Flea. Oh, Flea. What a great idea. What a great concept. I love this, guys.
Same. Jeez.
Yeah, we've been talking about a lot, especially with the James Webb Space Telescope out there. Humanity has been talking a lot just about how deep into time we can see with that thing, because so much has occurred between when we are able to observe light from, let's say, even just the center of our galaxy, and then what it actually looks like right now in real time, and the discrepancy between the real time deep space stuff and what we can see. There's a lot to be made of that, and it's why something like that interstellar object is so interesting, I think, to us, because what if there is a probe being sent out to go check out, okay, what does it actually look like now? And if you actually had a device getting to a star system, a solar system, a galaxy, whatever, you could have more real-time, at least, information. It just depends on how long it takes that signal to get back, which... How could a signal from a probe in a star system that's, you know, thousands of light years away from your star system, how could you get information back faster than light? Unless there is some kind of quantum system of communication that we just aren't aware of yet.
Yeah, Flea, I love this one because it is something we've talked about and to a degree been obsessed about for some time. This is such a dumb pop culture reference. I'm usually not great at these, but my obsession with this began due to a film I'm very interested to see if anyone else remembers, called Explorers, a 1985 science meets fantasy film for kids where these three kids... Okay.
No, I remember Explorers. Is this a Disney thing?
I don't think it's Disney. Let me pull it up. It's okay. So it's like these three kids who build a bootleg spaceship to meet aliens because the
River
aliens
Phoenix.
reached out to them.
A little baby
Yeah,
River
Ethan
Phoenix.
Hawke as well, I think, in their 1985-ishness.
100%.
Okay.
Flight of the Navigator adjacent kind of era.
Yeah, good call. So part of the reason this launched an obsession with space and time on my end, and hopefully for other people as well, is because, spoiler for a film from 1985, 3-2-1 spoiler, when they do meet the aliens who help give them this technology, what they find is that the aliens are totally curious about Earth because they don't know modern civilization. Instead, in this story, they're getting old movies that have been transmitted and made it across space. So to them, you know, the silver screen era is very much like peak current civilization because the aliens they find are kids who don't understand this deep question about space and time. And I think it must have motivated some physicists as well, because there's some really good research coming out now, Flea, these propositions that perhaps we've had, civilization has entirely misinterpreted the role of space and time. So this goes in a million directions, but oh man, if anybody saw Explorers, please write to us.
I'm not familiar with this at all. Directed by Joe Dante of Gremlins fame right after that.
Oh, that explains a lot.
And also apparently very clearly a response to the success of E.T.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it was in that era for sure. And I don't want to derail us there, Matt, but I think it's a cool touchstone in fiction for this idea of observing Earth from such an unimaginable distance.
Oh, yeah. It goes back to last week's listener mail episode where Smells Like Low Tide was talking about that the new study that was looking at the sky before satellites were invented, or at least human satellites were invented, and this concept that maybe this planet has been observed for a long time. Because if you did find a planet, let's say, that had a bunch of cool ass dinosaurs, I think that's how you put it, Flea, roaming around, like, you imagine you might visit Earth way earlier or attempt to get here a long, long time ago, because it would be a viable planet that had life on it of all different kinds, right? You'd show up, hang out for a while, and maybe observe, leave a couple of things behind, and then watch as it progresses. And once whatever creature gets stuff into the orbit, maybe take off, or at least change your position. It's making me think about a lot of that. I think it's all going back to this interstellar thing. Fascinating. All right, well, thank you so much, Flea. We got one more message here from Calamity Chris, and then we will move on. Calamity Chris has this to say.
Howdy, Matt, Noel, Ben, and super producer Dylan, the Rutabaga Drop King Fagan. They call me Calamity Chris. I am me. I am somewhere. That makes this a telephonic response to Stuff They Don't Want You to Know, Listener Mail Edition, Thursday, July 17th, 2025 of the Stupid Imperfect Calendar. About 42 minutes into the episode, during the right to food discussion, Ben mentions almost getting arrested for giving away bread while working at a bakery. Good for you, Ben. Food waste is tragic. It's sinful even. As y'all mentioned, grocery stores, restaurants, food manufacturing facilities, etc., put locks on their dumpsters. So people can't retrieve the waste, possibly eat it, get sick, maybe bring a lawsuit against them. I don't doubt that this is true. However, I think it's even more insidious. I think they're looking after their bottom line God money. A lot of places throw away perfectly good food, not just expired stuff. I know from my numerous jobs in restaurants, but particularly my jobs managing pizza places, lots of good, clean, edible food, fresh food would be thrown away to keep the price of the pizzas high. My boss used to tell me, if you don't throw away the old food, don't throw the old food away and lock it up after a pizza buffet, then all the gutter punks are just going to come by a dumpster for free pizza. And then how am I supposed to make a living? That was his line. Bullshit. Excuse the language there. I find this line of thinking sickening. It's very unclean. I completely ignored what he said. After every single buffet, I would collect everything that was left and bring it out to the folks hanging outside around the pizza place or underneath the underpass that was near us, and give it to people there because they're hungry, dude. They're hungry. My boss never found out. He probably would have fired me, but at least I would have gone down fighting a good fight. So, all right, my brothers, that's all for now. Peace and much love. Y'all can use anything I said in any way, shape, or form on air. You can paraphrase it. You can use my name, Calamity Chris, whatever you want to do. Much love. Adios.
Much love
Peace
to you,
and
man.
pizza parties.
Truly.
Oh, for sure, pizza parties. How cool is that? Just the idea that there was a good guy out there giving pizza away and nobody had to know about it. Just making it happen. Thank you, Calamity Chris. Good on you.
Thank you. Thank you, Calamity Chris, as well. It's no secret that all of us feel very strongly about the right to food. And honestly, without trying to sound too biased, and not to speak for everybody, but I think it's fair to say that all of us are probably on the same page with you regarding the motivations involved.
100%.
Yes, sir. All right, well, that's it. Thank you, everybody who called in. There's so many of you, but specifically Easy E, Calamity Chris, and Flea. Thanks for calling in. We'll be right back with more messages from you.
Dylan, we're going cinematic.
Where do you meet someone from outer space? Perhaps in the North Woods. Joe Simonton of Eagle River, Wisconsin, spins a yarn about an April morning in 1961. A morning when he says he came face to face with another world.
And ate pancakes. What are we talking about? Let's go straight to Steve from Ohio to learn more. Steve, you said, hello, stuff they don't want you to know crew. I've encountered a story I'd never heard before. In 1961, aliens, the kind from outer space, gave a guy 3 pancakes in exchange for a jug of water. I'm not creative enough to come up with that kind of story. I don't know, Steve from Ohio. I've got on board. You may be selling yourself short. Anyway, Steve, you continue. There are even photographs of the pancakes. I'd love to hear your take on this story. Keep peering into the darkness. Steve from Ohio. And we love these types of emails, straight to the point. What I just played there, guys, was an excerpt from a Wisconsin report on what is called the 1961 Eagle River incident. Have any of us heard about this before Steve reached out?
Not once.
Nope.
Same. This is okay. So the idea is that extraterrestrials, perhaps informed by dinosaurs or by the 1985 Bangor explorers, had, which hadn't occurred yet, never mind, we'll keep it. Aliens came to Wisconsin in 1961, and they ran into Wisconsin native Joe Simonton. It's really outlandish. So we'll give us the street poop, and then we'll talk about it real quick. So it's 11 a.m. local time. It's April 18th, right? 1961. Joe is having, a leisurely brunch, and then he hears a commotion outside. I want to play the whole clip from this report because I love it, and I think we all love that background music too. So per his account, he thinks, what's all this going on out here? And so he gets up and he says he witnesses a flying saucer, a physical object from beyond the stars, and it's brighter than chrome. It's hovering above his house. It eventually lands in his backyard, and he walks up because he wants to learn more. You guys got to hear the way that he describes it, because he seems very unperturbed. It seems like a classic Wisconsin reaction or Midwest kind of reaction to this stuff. It's like, well, I want to see what's going on. And when he reaches the craft, which has landed, he sees 3 mute aliens, which he describes as Italian looking.
Oh,
right. And but he doesn't do it as a diss.
What was that word again from earlier? Sprezzatura?
Right, it's very cool. He thinks they're cool. And their motion, he's like, you can hear him report in his own words. Again, he says they looked like they were eating something. So I figured I'd start talking to him, and I made a motion with my hands, like, can I eat as well? And they gave him a large container, and through apparently some system of improvised gestures, Joe decided that these aliens wanted water. So he goes and he fills up the jug, and at this point it's starting to sound like some kind of weird parable or folktale. He comes back with the filled jug, and he sees one of the aliens is cooking pancakes. Is making pancakes on something that's like a flat griddle kind of thing, something without an open flame. And again, per his story, the creatures give Joe, I think, 3 of the pancakes, and then they salute him, and the craft, elevates, and they embark out due south into the sky, into orbit, into space beyond with their jug of water. This story was investigated by the U.S. Air Force.
Of course it was. What did they determine?
You can look, guys, if you go to website, like if you just go to your browser of choice and check out 1961 Eagle River incident, you can actually see a photo of Joe holding one of these alleged alien pancakes.
Y'all, I bet space pancakes are really fluffy.
It does not look fluffy at all.
Dang.
That looks like
dry and brittle.
crispy.
Oh, no.
It looks kind of like a dried lotus roots.
Like a
or if you're
hokey.
one of those people who has that fear of holes, don't look at that picture.
How do you even decide that that's a pancake or that it's edible in any way? And guys, would you put it in your mouth if
That's how you decide. That's the only way.
What's that old joke? You run into a pile of brown and then you see someone turn around and go, "Oh, it's okay, guys. It's chocolate."
Yeah.
It just raises a lot of questions.
Just roll the dice, buddy. What do you have to lose besides the plot of every negative alien movie that's ever come out?
What is life if not to be lived? Yes.
Well, let's put ourselves in the position of those aliens, right?
Mm-hmm. The Italians.
Yes. We really, really, really need some water because we're making some gabagool on our spaceship.
Is water a key ingredient in making gabagool?
I don't know. We gotta cook some pasta and we need some water.
There you go. That's a little
right? No, but really, like, okay, let's say it's absolutely true and real. There are 3 aliens from some other place on some kind of ship, and they need water. Do you go to somebody on the planet and say, "Hey," you don't say anything, you telepathically let them know you need water? Or do you just go find some water?
Yeah, exactly. Why would you violate the Prime Directive by engaging? Shout out to our fellow Star Trek fans. Yeah, there's a lot of questions about this story, put diplomatically, Steve from Ohio. But I don't know about you guys. I'm fascinated by it primarily because of the video clip where we can see Joe himself describing it. He did try one of the pancakes of the 3 they gave him, and his review wasn't super great. These were not Michelin bib pancakes. These tasted like cardboard. He gave the other 2 cakes to a ufologist from Vilas County, and we don't know what happened to the other 2 pancakes.
Did they have any space syrup?
Right. You know what I mean? Just serving up dry pancakes, not a good look.
No, not the mark of an advanced civilization, let's just say.
I don't think they had different priorities. And also, did they pick Joe on purpose? Or were they just going with the flow like Country Mac?
I'm looking at, let's take a minute to look at Eagle River on the map here.
Yep.
If you're looking at Wisconsin, it's kind of in north central Wisconsin, surrounded by the Great Lakes. There's plenty of water to go around, pretty close to this area. Well, it's actually pretty far, but if you're in a spaceship, come on.
Well, also think of it this way. What if you're just trying to surreptitiously stop somewhere and you don't know the neighborhood? And then this guy comes up and he's just making weird hand signs at you and you want to be cool, right?
Yeah.
You don't want this to be a horrible situation. So you're like, I don't know, give him something, like the way we did on these other planets, just give him an object of affection. You're like, okay, give him the jug.
Yeah.
Which jug? The empty jug. Just give him the jug, man. Go. We don't know if he's dangerous. They give him the jug. And they're like, that was great.
Ooh,
okay, let's chill out. That got real tense. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, this crazy monkey primate thing is barreling back at you, and it's got the jug, and now it's put some in there. and you're like, oh, great. Now what? Now I'm in a situationship with an earthly?
Some poo-poo or just stuff?
What do we got? What do we got?
What is it? Okay. It's like,
pancakes,
pancakes. Give him the pancake.
Look, all I'm saying is I wouldn't be throwing around weird hand signals in my neighborhood. That's all I'm saying.
It's a weird thing to do. It's I don't know. It's kind of like how I figured out it hurts people's feelings in traffic more if you give them a thumbs down instead of the finger.
Oh, that's a really good move, Ben. I'm disappointed in you.
Yeah, I'm not angry. I'm not surprised. And you can do better. Yeah, I don't know.
We all can.
We all can. And that's maybe what Joe is thinking. But in his story, per his account, he's being a helpful person. And I don't know. I like this alternate made up theory about the aliens freaking out, meeting a local. And then just because I've been in situations. I don't know if you guys have. I've been in plenty of awkward social situations across cultures.
I have heard you get into situations, man. Yeah. I mean, not always bad ones, but situations for sure. But the thing where, you're like Homer Simpson walking backwards into the bushes. So maybe the aliens didn't know what to do except salute the guy and skedaddle before he came back with something else, if the story ever happened. The interesting thing here is that if you look at the USAF investigation, in their files, this incident is listed as unexplained, which could mean any number of things.
I just keep looking at the pancakes.
They don't look great. They look burned or crispy, like the kind of thing you might see in an amuse-bouche or a dessert at a fancy restaurant. Where
I
they
don't know
just
why
like
that cracked me up so much hearing you say amuse-bouche in this context. That's
like stick a little cracker in the thing so you can charge more for the sorbet.
We
or
call
whatever.
them scorched earth pancakes. Yes,
Scorched earth pancakes. Perfect.
Have you guys ever had like high protein pancakes before?
not great. A little heavy.
I have. I'm not a fan of the pan and the cake in general.
I like a crepe. How do you feel about a crepe?
Crepes are lighter.
Yeah, for
and
sure they are.
You can put more stuff with them.
Yep.
I'm imagining, guys, if you are in a spaceship, we've seen it depicted many, many times over. There's some kind of goopy liquid that has all the protein and nutrients that you need for on a long space trip or something.
Right.
I can imagine that if you were in one of those situations, you might have a little griddle of some sort that, is smokeless, fireless, and you could put your gloop on it and make something.
Pancake batter in space, that's going to gum up the instruments. That's going to be a nightmare situation. I don't think it works.
Too, we'd have to ask why there would not be food that doesn't require that extra step of heating.
We have astronaut ice cream. Why not astronaut pancakes?
The only explanation would be perhaps they need the heat to make a chemical change of some sort for nutrition. Right?
What if it's a heating something up on the radiator situation? They're just
space
like,
radiator, of course.
This stuff is horrible, but if we put it on here, it's okay. It tastes a little bit like cardboard, but it's okay.
No, that's prison rules, Matt. That's not spaceship rules.
That's That's Charlie Day stuff, which I have absolutely practiced and support.
Make a little toilet wine while you're at it.
Why not? Only the finest. I would love to read Michelin reviews on that kind of stuff. I got back into reading about Michelin. It's just so weird that a tire company runs the fancy food
It's just
world.
another example of being first to market with a thing,
I guess so. Off air, I'm going to tell you guys about a really great idea I had. In fact, I think it works so much that we're not going to talk about it on air.
Dude.
It's serious.
I wouldn't even tell us about it. We got notoriously big mouths. No, I'm kidding. Please do tell. I got to know that.
Don't be tough on yourself, man. So we do know one other interesting point here, Steve from Ohio, is that we know shortly after this incident, there were a couple more alleged sightings that occurred in the general area. You can learn more by checking out a book by the author J. Rath, R-A-T-H, called The W Files, True Reports of Unexplained Phenomena in Wisconsin. We have not read the book.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome. I like they called it W Files.
And just I think this is appropriate for this and the last story. I just wanted to mention a Netflix series that maybe is flown under the radar for some folks. It is an Argentinian alien invasion show based on a graphic novel called The Eternaut, and it's really, really good. And it is about like non-benevolent alien invaders, and it sort of has like a pandemic aspect to it as well. And I'm really, really enjoying it.
What's the name again?
The Eternaut, E-T-E-R-N-A-U-T. And there's a whole season on Netflix, and it did get renewed for a second. And it's really cool, and it is based on a graphic novel.
Guys, I found an Italian restaurant in the center of Eagle River called Bordelotti's Sinsin. and it is fine Italian dining, and it's pretty expensive. What if, you guys, it was connected to Bortolotti's?
It's in the middle of a river?
It's Eagle River, the place where this guy got the pancakes from the people, and they were Italian.
I thought you were referring to the actual Eagle River, and it's like on a little island or something. Like what is it? The Menu? You know, they have that like little weird island you got to take the boat to.
dug that one.
That movie's good.
I liked it. We also know, you can always tell when we get on a food kick, folks, that we are approaching lunchtime as a crew. This happens on I don't know about you, but pretty much every show I do.
It's true.
We've
had a bit of a marathon sesh today, so I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we're going to, with great thanks to you, Steve from Ohio, we're on the case, want to keep looking into this. I will say that a great way to learn more about these kinds of reports is to delve into psychology when you can. Look at the work of our colleague Toby Ball, who has some excellent deep dives on these phenomena, these sightings, and then also look at the folkloric aspect that I teased earlier, because a lot of stories about UFO encounters are beat for beat, including the exchange of food and drink. They're beat for beat stories from older ages of fairies and changelings.
Or rutabaga for rutabaga, if you're nasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, badger for badger. Put it in the bag. We are going to call it an evening for now. We want to thank everybody who wrote in with recommendations of sleeper hit fast food places that we can't quite get to today. Thank you for everybody who wrote in answering some questions about MRIs. That was absolutely amazing, and we appreciate it. We also have so many more wonders to show you and to share with you. So please tune in the coming weeks. We are going to be on adventures. We are going to talk about the science or conspiracy of what makes people cool. And yes, we'll have an update on the continuing Epstein scandal. So big thanks to Steve from Ohio, Easy E, Calamity Chris, Flea, and of course, Kay. If you want to follow in their footsteps, please do. We can't wait to hear from you. You can find us online. You can call us on the phone. You can always give us an email.
That's right. You can hit us up at the handle Conspiracy Stuff, where we exist on Facebook with our Facebook group, Here's Where It Gets Crazy, on XFKA Twitter, and on YouTube, where we have video content for you to deep dive right on into. On Instagram and TikTok, however, we're Conspiracy Stuff Show, and there's more.
There's a phone number. You can call 1-833-STDWYTK. When you call in, it's a voicemail system. You've got 3 minutes. Give yourself a cool nickname and let us know within the message if we can use your name and message on the air. If you would instead like to send us an email, you can. We are
the entities that read each piece of correspondence we receive. Be well aware, yet unafraid. Sometimes the void writes back, we will not try to make you eat a space pancake, but we will give you one random out-of-context fact anytime you ask. Also, shout out to Chef Ben. We may be starting a restaurant called Spiritual Burrito. More to come. Join us, Conspiracy at iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.